to let me stream and play at the same time. I got two really good finishes, and the last one was pain in the ass because I was in the Ford and I got out into the dirt misjudging first corner, and when I came back on the track, somebody shoved me right back off and it spun the car, and I went right back to the back and ended up in like a 10th or 11th or something like that. Mostly because the Ford just it burns up a rear tire, so I wouldn't choose that car if I were you, unless you don't mind running around like a -2 brake bias, which means your front end is going to start burning up pretty quick. The McLaren is too. I ran that in the second race and I did okay, but it's got too much understeer and the rear's too ready to kick out coming out of the corner, so you have to depend on all your on everything being straight line, and it is not the fastest straight line car anymore. That would be the bet. All the way up until 6th gear, then there's not enough room on this track for the McLaren to come back. He'll gain a couple of hundredths of a tenths back on a bet down the main straight after he gets into 6th gear, but he's going to lose half a second, if not more, going back through the handling section because the car still doesn't handle very well. Which, I mean, you would expect that a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car is going to have a lot of understeer on it because it's got nothing in the front end holding it down. But it's a little bit exasperated in that car because they've got it almost. They've taken a fifth of the weight and added it onto the car. It's 121% weight, and then they've cut the power down to I think it's 89 or something like that, 87. So you lost 13% of your power. And then they went through and did the MR update on it, and for a while it was really burning tires up, so nobody really drove it. Apparently they fixed that because it wasn't so bad on burning the tires up. The last time I drove it, they still had the problem with the tires burning up really bad, but it wasn't too bad. I was able to run it at +1, and it didn't burn the back tires up too bad. You just have to be mindful of the fact that your rears are going to start going quicker, and don't accelerate quite as hard. Be a lot more gentle with the accelerator. The Ford, I ran it at +1, and it was real stable. It didn't spin the tires a lot, but for some reason it was just chewing those rear tires up. I got about 5th lap in, and 4th, 5th lap in, and the back started sliding around, going around corners. It didn't want to keep hold, and it would only had like 10% tire wear. That was the strangest part about it. And you would expect the back tires are going to have the traction because they've got the engines right over top of the engine and transmission. So the Viper does really well. You just have to be careful in back in the handling section that you don't overrun the corners. It's very easy to do. The car is fast. I would gather to say that the Viper would outrace the Ford down the main straight. It hits 167 as you're coming into the braking zone for turn 1, and it's got better brakes. And the Ford is generally getting 66, but sometimes every once in a while you tick up to 67, and his brakes are far worse. So he's able to, the Dodge is able to take advantage of the corner with the braking. And then he doesn't use his tires up near as bad because of the naturally aspirated engine that has low RPM pull. Something I've noticed, so it looks like they have adjusted the gearing on the car, so it does look to me, and it could just be appearances, that you have to rev it out just a little bit more. So instead of stopping at 66%, you want to go up to about 80 or 90%. That could be part of the fixes that they've been putting in that, which, that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have the vet running around and its optimal speed is 50% of the rev meter. Um, that's just not the way it is. They got something screwed up with that car. They got the gearing screwed up on it or something. Um, and you shouldn't have the car like the Viper that's going 2/3. The tach is set correctly. It's set to the red line at 6,900 RPMs, which is where you're supposed to shift at. And but you get it above about 5,000, 5,200 somewhere in there, and it starts dropping. The power starts dropping. So, or at least that's the way it was. It looks like it's a little bit higher now, closer to 6,000. And then of course they got the Ford all screwed up too. Of course, but that's based off the mythology of the GT40. When they did the GT40 back in Le Mans '66, which is what the most famous Ford known, they told the guys to keep the revs down below 6,000. And what the drivers didn't know, and the reason that the one that did this did know is because he was a mechanic, is that the car would push all the way to 9,000 RPMs. You just had to be careful doing it in a long race because you'd tear the engine up. That's why they wanted to stay down below 6,000 RPMs, because it makes the engines last longer. But at the end of the race, just like they showed it in the movie Ford versus Ferrari, he started pushing the RPMs at the end of the race, and he ended up coming out front. That guy got the shaft because Ford company orders said that he had to wait for the other guys to catch up. Well, the other guy started further down the track in the pit lane because he was the one closest to the start line in the pit lane. So when the officials officiated it, the rules at Le Mans are the finish of the race is determined also by the distance that was traveled. Well, the guy that was back in the third pit traveled the furthest amongst the three Fords, so he actually won the race. This will be my fourth race. I'm going to do this one, and then I'll probably shut down. Maybe take a nap before it gets morning. It's already almost 5 o'clock here, as you can see up in the right hand corner. But it's Monday. Oh, I need to go out and check that too. Make sure that got put out. It's recycle day, so, and our recycle bin is full. What do we got? We still got 6-7 minutes. I'm gonna go do that now. got put out. Okay, so yeah, expecting to see for like the next month or two our recycle bin is going to be really full because with my father passing away, he was in the military, and the military teaches people to hold on to their members to hold on to everything. Well, he was 22 years in the military, so he held on to everything, and now we're having to go through all the stuff, figure out what's actually necessary, like his DD-214 and stuff like that. That has to be submitted to VA so he can, because he was a veteran, and he retired with 22 years, so he's afforded a plot in the military burial ground, which is perfect because here in the United States, if it's most burial grounds, the family has to go take care of it. My uncle, my mother's brother, has to go take care of her parents' graves because the cemetery doesn't have a groundskeeper to take care of them. And I suppose there are cemeteries out there if you got enough money that you don't have to worry about that because they'll, you're paying enough for the funeral and everything that they can afford to have a groundskeeper, or that's part of the contract, or you're going to pay $10,000 for the next 10 years of service on your. And the good thing for us again is because military service, my mother gets to get buried over there in that military lot as well, so don't have to worry about going taking care of her grave either. They put them together, the husband and wife. It's an afforded benefit for military service that's retired. Um, I don't know that just being a veteran, because you can be a veteran and not be retired. A veteran is just somebody who has been in the military service and served in a wartime situation. If you, or at least that's the way I heard it explained to me when I was in, is that you weren't a veteran if you didn't receive veteran benefits if you didn't serve during wartime or retire, and you had to have served in a unit to get wartime veteran services that was actually deployed. You couldn't be stateside and try to claim veteran benefits because you weren't actually in the war. You were just stateside. And I mean that is still it's true for most of the military bases outside the country as well, unless you're like the guys that went to Iraq. If they weren't in Iraq or Iran or Afghanistan or wherever the conflict was going on over there, then they're not considered veterans, as I understand. You still get some benefits for having served, like the GI Bill, but you have to pay for that. I had a lot going out every paycheck, so that whenever I got out, I had GI Bill to be able to use, and then you get to claim it on your employment. It gives you preferential service for employers. So most employers will give preferential treatment to veterans, and that's starting to become not a thing. But there are several countries, many companies out on the West Coast that you're a veteran, get out of here. We don't want you. But I mean, that's stupid. Somebody that went and signed their life away to the country, that you can't find somebody more goal oriented. All right, let's see how this goes. Let's see where my time's sitting at. I did have a top 10, but I set that 136.789, and then just after. And the Vipers are still hanging in there at the top. I figure by tomorrow, the next day on the outside, you'll have the vets and the RCCs just dominating. The FT1, they're going to have a hard time pushing him off, but that's somebody you can tell by his account. That's somebody he's not a C-rated driver. It's either a new account or it's a redundant account that somebody's made up to have so they don't mess with their main FIA account, which is technically it's against the rules. So they don't really bother you too much unless you're doing stuff. I know there's a couple of streamers that got like 4 or 5 accounts, so they can race in any region of the country, of the world. So, oh, Mad Night Mopar. I beat him. I beat you. Beat you in the standings. I beat you. He was Viper 2, Dodge. I beat him by about 4 or 5 spots. I think I came in 10th. I'll have to go look at that. I'll pull that up on the stream. But my manufacturer and nations rankings at the end of the season. Lester's gonna go with the Supra, huh? I don't know about that. I mean, it's probably gonna be fast around here, but Supra's bad about chewing up its tires, especially the rear ones. And what is the deal with these Americans having these crappy connections? God, no Mustang's gonna be hurting. That car just doesn't like to turn. It's really good in the straight line, but it don't like to turn. Yeah, we'll stay with those. On track and just actually what it. We're going to start in 3rd, so we can still make the mediums work from the start. The thing I like about the Viper here is that there's no dancing around with the car. The back end doesn't really kick out. This corner here you have to watch out, especially if you clip that inside. It'll kick the back end out because it's lifting the car up off the ground a little bit. But most of the corners you're coming out in such a low RPM, especially back there in the handling section in the third sector. You don't have to worry about that. It was quite the surprise the other day to see how much this car they've done with the fuel on it, because it is actually one of the worst fuel economy cars now, whereas it went from one of the best, and they've adjusted it so much that it hurts to be in a fuel race now with this car. Yeah, I know. Curb got me. Dude. Oh, he's lagging, that's what it is. Sorry about that. On me, somebody hit me from the rear. Tried to brake on the freaking grass. Dumbass. So normally, once you got past the gear meter in fifth gear, the gauge would start slowing down. Brake too late. Just trying to brake on the soft tire mark. Alright, Bonox, you know better than that. Nah, that's gonna be a penalty, I bet. Quit doing that. Second time. That curve's caught me. I've been doing it 4 races now. I haven't been getting on that curb. So. Close to a penalty. I don't know if it's going to get me or not. Huh? You got that McLaren together. I would have expected after 2 or 3 laps his back tires would have just been sliding all over the place, because that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. I raced that car one season with McLaren, and I only went into one race with Group 3. It was Catalunya, and the first time the tires slid, that was the end of those tires. I tried to go 2 more laps, and I ended up having to pit to put new tires on because the tires wouldn't never. It's like they had a heat bug or something. It would never quit sliding. And I mean, I only had like just a smidgen of red showing, so. Still made DR. So back up over 38K again. Yeah, about 300 points there. But you can see here, look at that. You had a 911 up there, and 911 can do good here if he doesn't get tied up. The 650 is probably a one-off. That's probably somebody. I know K-Bonix is pretty good. But everything else in the top 5 is Vipers. The top 6 is Vipers. You get 3 out of 6 positions are Vipers. So. Okay, so let's go to have a look at this. Actually, I needed to be in there. So, for the archive. So, for the Nations Cup, my points ranking, I ended up 10th in Florida, 87th in the United States, 120th in North America. Not bad considering I spent half or 2/3 or more of the races trying to get a clean race because I had somebody called Mateus 42077 and a couple of his buddies, I'm suspecting, ramming me off the frickin' track. One person I haven't seen in a long time is Poopy Head, or I think he got his name changed because Sony finally figured out that they were talking about something excrement, and there was another guy running around with a head name that was basically the same thing, but not excrement. It was calling himself idiot. Okay, so in manufacturers, I got 2nd in Florida, 12th overall in Dodge. So hold on a minute. I thought I was going to end up in 10th, but let's take a look at that. So I had another guy jump me, Himlada or whatever it is. But that guy I beat in the last race, but it looks like he came back and ran another race and got better points. And there's Mad Night Mopar. He's 2 positions down, 44 points. Glad to see him back there. He's a dirty piece of crap. I'm surprised at him. He stayed up in the top, or stayed up above me, almost the entire season. And then right at the end he drops. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so but the big thing here is regional rankings. Actually, was it in here that I seen him? Must have been over here. I could swear I got it. must have been in here. Let's see. So we were in 273rd. Somewhere I was looking. Oh no, that's where I was looking at. Over here. Points ranking. And it's in domestic because he's not in my region. Okay, so we were down at 87th. Okay, so yeah, we tied with this guy here. But all that cheating you did, and I still beat your ass. Suck on it, bitch. I know he watches because he's picked up on the fact that somebody else has come in and been talking about him, and I said a couple times that you don't mess with me because I got him suspended for a week one time, and I'm in the process of trying to get it done again. Except for this time I want it done permanently. I've already talked to the Sony rep, and if I get enough, I've got the stream footage, but they said that that's not enough because you can't see what his inputs are. I need to get more races with him in it and get the just like I did the first time I got him suspended. Get the replay so that they can see what his inputs were, and then they'll make a decision on what they're going to do about him. But I found out checking into him that apparently he's from Argentina and has migrated to the United States illegally or illegally. I don't know, but because if you go look at his account in Gran Turismo, he says pretty much that's what he's an expatriate from Argentina, and that explains a lot why he's after me, especially in the group when I'm in my Group 3 car, because you can see right there at the top of my Group 3 car, so it's a U.S. Air Force representing, and it's got the red, white, and blue flag. So obviously, you know, people from south of the border are going to have problems with that. They all do, because we're not the socialists that they are. we're commerce oriented, and we do so much better than them, and they just it bothers them because of their stupid Latin ego. But I'll be back in a bit with more of the dungeon crawling. This is a race I can most definitely make points at this week if I want to. I'm still waiting to hear what's going to happen for the next exhibition season. Usually we've got some sort of notification about when the next exhibition is going to come at the end of the first week after the season ends. And we'll leave it at that. I don't think I'm going with Dodge again in the season, by the way. For exhibition, I'm probably going to be running something else just to get away from Dodge and to see if they'll do something about it. The Group 3 car, it's okay at Fuji, but as you can see, it's not the best. There was a time when it was the Viper and Aston Martin were the two cars to have. And that quickly descended, especially in Group 3. Now Group 4 is still, the Group 4 Dodge is still performing almost exactly like it was. I think it got a power down, but it didn't hurt it too much. So you guys take it easy and enjoy your races.